welcome everyone to another More Than Walking monthly discussion meeting that we're having. And of course, as always, I'm your host, Fees. I'm a C4, C5 quadriplegic here in Connecticut, and I'm also an aspiring artist. So I'm just very grateful, as always, to be able to meet with my community. So why are we here today? We're talking about something that is very near and dear to all of our hearts during this journey that we're going on, being disabled, and that's peer mentoring. And we're celebrating that because it's very important when you have somebody that can walk alongside of you as you're going through whatever you're going through. That's basically what the definition of being a peer mentor is somebody that has had a similar life experience and has been seasoned and gone through it and progressed, and then they come along somebody who's now embarking on that journey, and they give them a little bit of guidance. And without that guidance, sometimes it can be detrimental to the person's life. So, like I said, it's just a few of us on the call, so let's just make introductions and what have you, and let's talk. So, Nikita, introduce yourself and tell me or tell everybody what is one thing you look forward to during the holidays, and what's that one gift as a kid you were not looking forward to opening?
Hi, all those that are in today's discussion. I'm Nikita Rose. I stay in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'm a T4 paraplegic, and I've been living this life for approximately 26 years now. One thing, let me see, I didn't really grow up that, my gifts were limited for Christmas. So I can't really say one thing I wasn't looking forward to because, like I said, my family wasn't fortunate to have a lot of gifts under the Christmas tree. So whatever I got, I was grateful for. What was your other question?
And if there was something that, like, you just necessarily, like, were not looking forward to getting?
I don't know. But one thing I was looking forward to during the holidays back then was, like, always watching karate flicks or something. So, the most important thing to do for me around holiday time is just reflecting on what I don't want to bring into the new year and what I can work better at accomplishing for the next year to come.
So having resolutions are important. Setting goals is even a part of peer mentoring and whatnot. Mentors look at mentees and try to set certain bars and certain standards that they want them to try to reach to progress forward. That's cool. How about yourself? Tell us about you, Jonathan.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Sigworth, C7 complete, coming up on, 16 or 17 years in February, post-injury. And let's see, the things was looking least forward to for Christmas, probably the snow shoveling.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I don't, unlike Corey here, I don't do any snow shoveling now. Lack of power chair makes it a little hard. But what was the other question?
Like, what was like the least favorite thing you wanted to do, maybe like on Christmas, or even like a gift to open up?
Oh, besides snow shoveling?
Yeah, besides snow shoveling, what was like maybe something that you look forward to during the holidays?
What I look forward to during the holidays is taking a break, being with family, drinking hot chocolate, eggnog, and pumpkin pie. That's all I need. That's all I need. I
like eggnog. Like when I was in the service, they and an abundant supply of it and what have you. So we used to like sneak cartons of eggnog and then keep it away for us, like, in between, like when we stand and watch. For me during the holidays, I always look forward to like decorating when I was a kid. It's a bit of a task now with two little ones, but looking forward to decorating was always pretty cool for me, and just putting up the ornaments. We had a really old tree, like from the '70s. Like this thing it was like foil limbs and what have you. It was silver. It had these blue and red balls that, like, it was in my family for generations. So it was always cool. It was like a piece of my grandmother growing up, like especially after she passed. So I look forward to doing the decorating when I was younger. What I did not look forward to is, like, I love the gifts. My parents, gifted a lot when I was younger, but it's the filler gifts, like socks or underwear. Like that's, when they would go away, I'd like go peek underneath the tree and I grab the gift and I'm just like, it looks like a box. It's square. I'm just like, this got to be something. I grab it. I'm like, it's so soft. I was like, this is Hanes. These are socks. It's not a toy and what have you. So that used to be like the bummer, like as a kid. But other than that, like, Christmas is cool and whatnot.
Hi, I'm Justina, Mercy 5C6, incomplete quad. I am a mom. My daughter's 10, and with the questions about Christmas, things I look forward to the most about Christmas is always like decorating, going to the lights, Christmas trees, wrapping presents, especially like sitting around my family. And I also I share in common with Corey that is like most receiving clothes, like just common clothes that you get all year. One thing you would like to see, like a big doll or a bike. I was always excited to receive like new dolls or books.
Broke up a little bit there, but we caught a little bit of what's going on. But yeah, so just thinking about what it takes for a person to be a peer mentor, right? There's so much that goes on, and just a little history. Where does even the idea of mentoring come from? So, what I found was that in Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus, who was a king, he went off to fight the Trojan Wars, but in fighting those Trojan Wars, he had to leave behind his son. And his son was left to a man named Mentor. And Odysseus was gone for quite some time, decades. And while this time had passed, he had somebody grooming his son in his stay. And I think that's important to note because oftentimes in society, fathers are removed from homes, and sometimes mothers are removed from homes, and you need guidance, somebody that has walked in your shoes before to be able to, help you out. And so that brings us to our first question. Peer mentorship is quintessential, and their guidance many times over can help chart the course for which direction one should go. What has been the best or worst piece of advice someone's given you since becoming injured? And I'll let you have that, Jonathan.
The best or worst piece of advice. I had a peer mentor when I was first injured, so I was really lucky. I was at Gaylord Hospital here in Connecticut, and my peer mentor Andrew was there doing outpatient while I was an inpatient. So within the first month, I had access to a peer mentor, and the best advice was really just, his example. So he would come in and be doing therapy alongside me. So I wasn't necessarily getting advice, but I was just seeing what he was learning as he was learning it. And, he was about 6 months to a year older of an injury than me. So I kind of saw my future in his recovery. And that was really, really helpful to see someone still learning, but just a few steps ahead. And it helped me, understand, okay, I can get there. you know? So when he was driving, I was able to see his van and all of that. So that example was super helpful.
Nice.
And the worst piece of advice, again, I'll kind of go with I don't remember like phrases that people told me, but just the example. So I knew some people who would be smoking post-injury or doing things that were just extremely unhealthy, putting their lungs like as a quad, you know, like your lungs are everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, or just doing things that were not only like irresponsible in general, but like just really bad for your health as a quadriplegic. And, you know, saying that was fine. And I guess I just bring that up because when you have a spinal cord injury, you basically have very little room for playing around with your health.
Right.
You know, to live well, we really have to take care of ourselves even more than before because, yeah, you know, you know, you can do things that are not good for you as an able-bodied person. You'll get away with it for many years, and then it'll catch up with us in our old age. Well, you know, with spinal cord injury, yeah, the same thing's true, except it's accelerated, you know? So that was kind of my experience.
That makes a lot of sense because not only were you injured, but now you got like a heightened focus on what people are doing around you. It's not like your everyday typical stuff. Like you walk in, you may see someone smoke or whatever. You may say, you know, that's bad for your health, and then you kind of like move on or what have you. But when you see yourself in somebody else, and it's kind of like they're compromising themselves, it can kind of be a bit of a deterrent and even frustrated because you know the value of your life and the value of maintaining the integrity of your body. I definitely can understand that. How about you, Nikita? Like, what's been like the best or the worst advice that you got post injury?
Before my injury, during my injury, or post is after. So post injury, I haven't really, you know, when I just observe, I'm more of an observer, and I didn't have the opportunity to link up with any mentors when I was injured. So, and it was years after. It wasn't even until I linked up with Jonathan that I even knew that there was mentors out here, that I could be a mentor myself. So, you know, I had to just basically tell myself, be positive things, you know, just encourage myself until I came across other people that lived the life that I was living. And, you know, basically it was just, don't give up on yourself. Keep pushing, keep praying, you know, keep believing in yourself, keep believing in change. You know, my situation might be this way now, but it could be this way forever, but it's up to me to either adapt with change or, you know, stay in self-pity or, you know what I'm saying, feel bad for myself. So basically to just continue to love myself and like Jonathan said, you know, take care of my body because it's my temple. So, and as far as getting the worst advice, I don't really think it's nothing that anyone can tell me that I can't tell myself. So I'm my biggest critic. So I don't really hear too much of the worst advice.
So I mean, that's cool too, because it's like in a moment, if you do ever encounter, I think one of the cool things about when you do go through trauma is you develop tough skin. And in having tough skin, it provides you an area to not be sensitive. And I think when you're not sensitive or you're too emotionally attached to something, you're able to make better decisions for yourself. But I think sometimes maybe we are our own mentors.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like. You have to affirm yourself in those moments because sometimes you don't have a person that you can just readily call on or pick up the phone or text to do whatever. You have to sit there and you have to literally like kick yourself in the pants and say, all right, come on, let's go. Let's get right, because if
Yeah, and
who's going to
that's
be,
exactly what it
you're going to
was
be
for
your
me.
best and worst critic. I can
Yeah.
understand that.
Yep, that's exactly what it was for me. I had to be my own peer mentor for a long time. And which is not a bad thing, because in that state of, in the beginning of the trauma and the beginning of the injury, I really I didn't want to talk to people, I just wanted to go back to being normal. So, and I wanted to find out how quickly I could do it.
So, because you got hurt like young, like 17, right?
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, did anybody kind of like, I don't know, jump the gun and say, hey, no, you can do it, like provide like encouraging words or what
Yeah,
have you?
definitely the people that were my OT and, PT at the children's hospital that I was at, they were probably the first two people that encouraged me to just get up out of bed, learn how to get dressed, brush your teeth, like don't just sit in the bed and just want to watch TV. Like you have to learn how to be independent. Like life doesn't stop.
No, it really doesn't. You know what I mean? Because it's a revolving door. People are always getting hurt, and things are always happening. And then, it makes me think a lot about like when it comes down to most of us who've gotten injured, it happened in our youth. And one thing I found about like there's a good relationship between uh, peer mentors in youth when it comes down to like business and whatnot. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. Like for millennials, it's almost like 80% of them look for like somebody or feel like they thrive better with like some type of mentorship. So that's why I asked you, in terms of like your age, because most of us got hurt when we were pretty young, like in our early 20s. So having somebody older to help guide us through those times, you need that leadership.
When you guys were talking, it reminded me that before, when I was still in India, there was like this old British missionary guy who would come to my bedside when I was in rehab in Delhi. And he was like 80 or something, but he was so encouraging and like passionate. And he was like, don't ever stop. You're gonna get out of that wheelchair. You're gonna do your therapy. Don't ever give up. Like he was just crazy, but it was awesome. Even though his focus was on like full recovery, he was so encouraging, and just being an older gentleman, like speaking with such intense encouragement was really nice. Was really nice when you're in therapy and you're like, yeah, sitting on the edge of the bed takes all the effort I can muster that day.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I like his enthusiasm. It reminds me of a chaplain who used to always come by my room, and I'm a man of faith as a Christian, and so like I try to look at things with the most optimism as I possibly can, because I know at the end of the day, my joy can't always come from the things that are here on earth, but they got to come from something external. Hey, you're back, Justina. Can you hear us? Justina, are you there?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, what has been like the best or the worst advice you received since becoming injured?
Okay, the best of the worst advice. The best advice, which is kind of, I think maybe all of us have kind of like to never give up. I've had great moments, had bad moments, but just you have to find something that you enjoy and you have in life that you're doing it for. That's all I can say. I can't really like. I've heard almost possibly everything you can possibly hear from everybody, but it's something you have to believe within yourself. You can't just say something and just keep it. It's something you have to hold on to. You have to wake up and you have to set your mind to it every day. You have to realize that that's what you're doing it for, and you have to know that it's not going to always be that way. Every day it's going to be different. So that's how I do it.
Now, like in terms of like people saying never give up and what have you, did you view that as like a kind of fleeting thing? Like everybody says never give up until you actually going through what some type of hardship.
I think when you're first injured, you're getting so used to your everything changing around you, like you're adapting to a new lifestyle that you never really take heed of what never giving up for. But as in my life, as I progress, like everything, it gets so much better. Especially when you start to learn to do things the way you did before. Like you start to live for more than just oh well, I'm never gonna walk, so I gotta. You don't have like you see there's so much more that the world has to offer you. You you're not only learning that you're not just adjusting to a new lifestyle, but you're actually living a new lifestyle. And you with that idea of me becoming a whole new person gives me like a whole different perspective of life. Like I had everything planned out my whole life. Like after I graduated high school, I was gonna start college, graduate by 25, and everything was gonna be done. I had my mindset, but everything completely changed. Like way before I even hit 25, and it's like, okay, how do I go from knowing what I always wanted to making it actually happen? And when you start looking at and putting a new lifestyle perspective and actually adjusting to it and doing what you want to do, you don't see giving up as an option. Like I can't see giving up as an option. I don't see it at all. I never see it. Like I don't want to sound like phony with it, but I don't see anything as being a bad situation. I guess I feel like I've been in every type of situation that could possibly be in life. I've experienced so many losses within my injury. Like people I've loved, I've experienced loss within myself, within family members. I've experienced happy moments. I mean, exceptionally great moments. It's like I don't know how to put into words, but yeah, I don't see giving up ever.
So you just naturally just self-affirm, like we were talking
Yeah,
earlier. It's kind of like you got to being your own advocate is being your own mentor.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're guiding yourself by kind of like the people that you watch around you, and if it looks like it's going left, you're probably like, that's not the necessary route that I want to take, and what have you. So then you just got to kind of coach yourself.
Exactly. Like if you naturally feel, you can naturally feel when something is not it's not in good spirits. Like you can feel something. Like you can say you want to do this. You tried and it's not something that your heart is not telling you is right, and you're doing it because you think this may make a situation better. This is gonna help benefit you, and if it's not something that I feel that is positive, like positive towards my spirit, it never advanced my actual lifestyle with my injury. So I started doing things that I genuinely like that made me happy, and I started noticing how that made my life a whole lot easier. Like my body even started working a little bit better. So like my spirit, everything just uplifts yourself better when you enjoying what you're doing. Like you can't force yourself to say, hey, I'm gonna do therapy every day and it's gonna make doing this type of therapy or doing this, it's gonna make this so much better. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna walk. But if you just doing it just because you think that's gonna get you to a situation that you think gonna make your life better, it won't work that way. You have to enjoy it. And believe it.
I can understand that definitely for sure. So I mean, like with that being said, for me, I would say the best advice came from three people, right? So this is literally a biblical type of story that occurred for me when I got hurt in 2005, and I was 22, youngest guy on the floor, so everybody else was, already kind of settled into their injury, and a lot of them were a bit of curmudgeons. But I'm like trying to just smile and keep my head on the swivel. But I had a moment, and I wrote a song about it. It's called Three Wise Men. And literally, like on separate days, three different individuals came in. The first person that came in, he happened to be 19, and he had gotten his SEI due to an RPG hitting his convoy. And I remember he wheeled in. He was with his mom and his dad, and we were talking. And he was just like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to move." I was like with your family? Or he's like, "Nah, I'm moving with my friends." I was like, "Where?" He's like, "Florida." I'm like, "Man, you like from Colorado? Like that Florida's far." It's like you gonna go by yourself? He's just like, "Yeah." It's just like, you know. And when I saw that, I was like, "Man, independence is possible." Just because I'm right now confined in this bed and I'm hooked to a breather and I have a feeding tube and what have you, independence is possible because when he first came in, they were telling him, you know, the shot, you know, your career is over, this and that and the third, but he still managed to persevere. And then the second guy that came in was like probably, I don't know, maybe a week or two later, he rose in and he's got this girl with him. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't trying to like, in my mind, I was like, man, she's fine. I was like, you know, how they end up together, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm assuming that, like, you know, chicks don't dig. I had nobody in a wheelchair, but she, you know, was with him, and they were telling me how they was getting engaged, and I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I'm going to like Paralympic Games, like in Alaska or something like that. I was like, forget the games. I'm like, yo, how you get her? Like, that's what I need to know. You know what I mean? Because I was just like, in the future, if things don't pan out or don't work out with my current relationship, I want to know that love is possible, and they showed me that. And then to your point, of Jonathan, about like meeting that chaplain and his enthusiasm about like full recovery, regardless of how we feel, met another gentleman. This is like again another like week or two later, and he comes in and he's like talking to me. Now, mind you, he's standing and he's just giving me encouraging words. He said, "Listen, dude," he was like, "Yo, they told me I wasn't gonna walk. I said I'm walking out here in 6 months." I was like, "Man, you brave." He said, "Man, I worked hard. I rehabbed as best as possible. Granted, different levels of severity for the injury versus incomplete and complete. But they told him he wasn't gonna walk again." And he said, "Man, listen, I kind of walk with a drunken stumble a little bit, but I'm on my feet. Don't let nobody tell you what you can and what you cannot accomplish, even if you don't get up. You know what I mean? Like there's still so much more that you could be doing." And I thought that was pretty dope to witness that. And I remember distinctively like watching him open up a bottle of Dr. Pepper, and I was just like, the dexterity is there. Like, so if something can happen, like, you know, all things are possible with God. And then I thought that was cool. So I would say those three guys gave me the best advice. And then the worst was this gentleman, and it kind of like worked out too, because he gave me a little jewel in there, but he would come to my room faithfully all the time. I ain't gonna lie, I pretend like I'm asleep, because he would just be like, "Hey, Corey, Corey, Corey," and I'm like, "Man, please leave me alone. I don't want to hear what you have to say." And then, but when we would talk, it's just like, "Yeah, my niece asked me if I'm gonna walk. I told her, I said, you ever see Sylvester in Tweety Bird? Do you ever see him? Do you ever see Sylvester ever get in the Tweety Bird?" And she was like, "No." I was like, "Yeah, that's what's gonna happen to me. I'm never gonna get anything." I was like, "Geez, Louise, don't come to my room no more. Avoid it." So when I think back to that, I just felt like that wasn't the right move to make in a time where I'm very vulnerable, no matter how real the circumstances or the outcome could possibly be. Nikita, I throw this question to you. Being self-motivated, like being your own kind of self-mentor, do you think that because somebody is going through the same thing that you're going through, can they be ineffective as a mentor?
No. Everybody mentors differently. I mean, it depends. If everyone has to have boundaries, of course, we all have to have boundaries as mentors. So it depends, if unless they're crossing boundaries and they're making it more personal instead of about the person who's just had an injury or the person who's looking to be mentored. I mean, it can go either way.
Okay.
I feel like we all have the ability to teach somebody something, or
I
show
agree with
somebody
that.
something or learn something from someone. Because as a mentor, I learn a lot from people that I'm mentoring. Like we teach each other.
I like that. What you said is important. Mentors can't take the relationship personally, because you're there to provide like a blueprint, and your blueprint might necessarily not work for the person completely. And I think that goes kind of hand in hand with, like, sometimes people mentor for a season. There's only but so far somebody can carry you.
Right.
And I wonder, like, with Jonathan, you've done extensive work with peer mentoring and, bringing people on and sharing their story, people being vulnerable. Um, have you ever come across somebody that you kind of felt like, I don't know how effective they would be in a setting with somebody that could be possibly newly injured?
Yeah, well, Nikita brought up a really important point, which is when you as a mentor make it more about you than the person who's injured, and really knowing what they need to hear versus what you have to teach. And that's a really important principle. I also feel like everyone I've interviewed for More Than Walking, no matter whether or not they went on to make demonstration videos or do anything else, just telling their story, I think, is such a powerful gift for others who are newly injured, and for the world to help understand what it's like to have a spinal cord injury. It's really hard to mentor someone when you're depressed, or it's really hard to mentor someone when you're kind of stuck in your own situation. Keyword there being stuck. We're all going through things, but if we can take that and admit, like, yeah, I'm still learning, I'm having difficulty with this, but let me lend you some of my emotional bandwidth at the moment. That's really important. And on the flip side, I think, sometimes, when we're newly injured, we're not necessarily looking for peer mentors. We're also looking for friends. People who aren't just there for like a teaching relationship and then it's gone. It's okay. I've talked in my mentoring hours. Now I'm gone. See you. Good luck. We're looking for genuine friendship, genuine fellowship, community. So I think also as a peer mentor, being open to that, like, if this person wants to be your friend, be a friend also, or like make it clear if that's in the realm of possibility, so that we're not just treating each other as people who need to be helped, but rather as, our neighbors, people in our community, who we can get to know, and as Nikita said, learn from ourselves.
So essentially, you gotta be, pretty much have an open-minded perspective, especially, the commonality is the injury or the similar experience. It's not necessarily, well, I'm angry about this subject or what have you, and that has nothing to do with your healing process. People just want to be able to get to where you're getting. I watched one of the peer mentor videos. I think it was a gentleman named Dean Joyce, and he had gotten into, I think, a motorcycle accident. And one of the things he said, that was key was just like, man, like, you know, you just really cannot allow people to tell you what is possible. You just cannot, you know. And I looked at that and just said to myself, like, he's absolutely right. I need to be surrounded by positiveness. I need to be surrounded by this influx of love, because you know sometimes self hatred comes from these injuries, right? Like, you know, you're just like, oh, my body's changing, or I can't do this. You get into slumps of depression and whatnot, and it can be, like I said earlier, detrimental, and because of an ineffective way of communicating to you your needs and trying to be answer to those. And I shoot this question to you, Jonathan. You know, prior to being hurt, did you do any type of mentoring, or what did someone mentor you? You know, you're obviously a student of film and what have you. Like, did you have anybody come alongside of you, and what was that impact like?
Yeah, so in terms of film, I kind of followed in the footsteps of my older brother and my dad, who had like film as a hobby. So on their projects, they would always allow me to participate and kind of learn as they were doing things, or I was always able to see the process as it unfolded, as the project unfolded, even when I was like a little kid, you know, on family film projects. So that was a really important lesson for me. And then later on, and starting in middle school, high school, I was part of this traveling choir group called Musicom, and I ended up being a volunteer staff member for the summer and throughout the year for other like middle schoolers for the middle school group. So that was a really interesting experience, kind of mentoring them in singing, but it was a Christian group. So, you know, spiritually being a mentor to others, that was a really wonderful, wonderful experience. And I think the thing that really stuck with me as I was being mentored by the leader of that, John Colgrove, you know, always being there. You know, this is not a short-term commitment. You have to be patient. You have to, as we were saying, you know, sometimes people aren't ready for a mentor because they're depressed or they can't hear what you're saying. The most important thing that you can get across to someone if they're in that state is that, like, look, when you're ready, I'll be here. You know, when you're ready to talk, when you're ready to ask a question, just to let you know, you can always call me, you can always text me, you know, and that is so important. You know, just be there when they need you, even if they're not ready at the moment. So kind of thinking long-term was a really important lesson.
Oh, that's cool. How about you, Nikita? Like, did you do any like mentoring or what have you prior to being hurt?
None. I had no clue that there was an even organization for mentoring. Like if I knew about it, I would have needed a mentor myself, you know?
Yeah.
I would have definitely signed myself up to find a mentor, but no, that resource wasn't available to me during my time.
Okay. But even like do you have siblings?
I have siblings.
Are you the younger or you're the oldest?
I'm in between. I'm a second set of twins. 7.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
you know, one of 7. So,
you know, oftentimes it's with siblings too.
Yeah.
You know, they look.
You know, I try. You're right, because you know you try to mentor each other as far as nieces and nephews go. You try to mentor them. You know, you can only mentor people as much as they need you,
right?
Because they don't really want you, so they have to need your advice. They have to need your guidance. So you can't really force yourself on people. And I'm the type of individual that would rather you come to me. I'll check up on you, but I'm not going to force myself on you. So, you know, that's the type of mentoring I would give.
But that's
like Jonathan said, you know, I'm here for you when you're ready to talk, when you're ready for whatever, somebody to listen to you, you know, just to ask a simple question relating to your injury. like I'm here. But I
I
just
think
need,
that's what makes people effective.
yeah. It's just like
Like,
as far as mentors are concerned, we just need you sometimes to make the first step so we know that you're interested.
mm, I like that, like long-term commitment and being able to recognize when to fall back and allow the person to come to you. I think that's what makes people feel like they can be open to somebody
Right.
and open to learn. So I think that's key. And like, just going along the lines of family, Justina, your mom.
Yeah.
And I think naturally you serve as a mentor to your daughter. Like what do you how do you think what do you think her that impact is going to be for her when she gets older? You had talked last time when we spoke. I think you said you're going to school and whatnot. So you clearly are a bulldozer. You running through stuff. You know what I mean? I'm quite sure your daughter probably looks at it like, mommy's doing that. Yeah, I could do it too.
My daughter was actually injured the same time as me. She was in a car accident with me.
Mm,
And so it's been a really it's if I feel like she's been there every step of the way with me. She kind of she'd be like, Mom, when I learn, you learn. Like when she's studying at night, she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm studying. Like she knows when if I'm having a like a bad day. She pushes me to continue. Like she's the positive thing. Like she'll know if I'm not doing. She's like, Mom, you're supposed to be doing this, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm supposed to be doing because she was only um 2 when my car accident happened, and now she's 12. So I was just trying to adjust to everything. But as I start opening up and reading more about it, she always kind of like, Mommy, on talk. She was my reason to come out and be more open and want people to hear my voice and understand that. Hey, if I can do it with my daughter, I know it might sound cliche, me being a mom in a wheelchair, like kind of so many people are parents in a wheelchair, but like having to, you know, have someone else, get your kids dressed and you're trying to relearn to do that and take care of a child yourself, it can be it can be hard, especially to talk to anyone about. So as I opened up about it, you know, just seeing her grow with me made me want to express that to other people, like to talk more with. I mean, because I kind of lost close friendships I had after that. Like, a lot of people start pulling away because they're like, "Oh, you're not the same. Oh, I can't see you like that." And I feel like if you can't
mm.
see like I am now, then how do you see me? It kind of made me realize that everything that I'm pursuing, I never always, I'm like, why am I not going back to school? I always wanted to finish school, so let me do it. Why am I not doing? Like, well, what's stopping me? So
That's cool because like what it sounds like to me, like especially like the relationship you have with your daughter is like it's grounded on a lot of trust. Parenting from the chair isn't easy. I have two boys, and they're very, very, very hyper. If you've seen the dangerous disco and whatnot, and you saw my son Jojo dancing, that's him full throttle every day. But we have me and him are grounded on a lot of things, and it's trust. I level with him about the truth with everything. He asks me a question, I let him know. And I think, as his dad and you know, by default, I'm a mentor to him. I have to make sure that like we're grounded on trust and fundamentals and what have you. Like he can get me in and out the car by himself. He knows how to unstrap me or whatnot. I even have him start the car. He knows to open up the garage and whatnot. He's 9, but he has to take on these mantles. But what I appreciate about him is his willingness to learn and his openness towards it. You know what I mean? And it sounds like your daughter, she pushing you and saying, mommy, you supposed to be doing this. You supposed to do that. You know what I mean? And it gets you back on your game and to say, you know what? I do need to go ahead and take care of that. You know what I mean? Because she's watching,
yeah,
and it's important.
there's like there's no way I cannot be honest with her,
Yeah.
because she's right. She's there every step of the way. So that trust, yeah, that's there. But she knows that there there's no way I can't lie to my daughter about anything because she's gonna know how something affects me. She's watching everything around me. She knows a lot. I guess she's with me 24/7. She's not my caregiver. She's just so loving. I don't know how to explain it, but she keeps me honest. She keeps me, she keeps me always, she keeps me going. That's all I have to say. I don't know how to explain it, but
Nah, I definitely understand that. You know, it reminds me of I don't know if you guys know the story of Helen Keller, but you know, just a brief synopsis about it. So we all know about Helen Keller in terms of she was blind, she's an orator, she, you know, author and wrote letters and did fantastic things for people who are blind. But what a lot of people don't know is that in order for her to get to where she got to, somebody had to be there in her corner rooting her on. Somebody that she could trust, somebody that she could be honest with. And there was a woman named Anne Sullivan who too happened to be blind. And when Helen Keller's parents were looking for somebody to help their child, there was a school called the Perkins School for the Blind where Anne Sullivan had just graduated from. She helped to push Helen Keller. And that relationship didn't just stop because she learned her craft and she moved on. No, it's a lot like Modern Walking, where you invite people into this community and you create companionship, and then people walk alongside of you. And that's what Anne Sullivan and Helen Keller did for 40 plus years until her death in the 1930s. So it's built off of on a precipice of trust. You know what I mean? Which I think is quintessential for anybody to be an effective mentor. So, like Jonathan, like, what do you think that you're doing that has been the most effective in helping out our community? Like, what piece of the mentorship puzzle do you think you fit the best in?
You mean me personally, or do you mean
No, just like your work, like what you're doing is awesome. You know, like what's specific about that do you think serves the community the best? I should say.
Ever since starting More Than Walking, I've kind of seen the point of it all being to help everyone else get their story out there and share their experience as easy as possible. You know, to make it as easy as possible for someone to share what they've learned through film, because, you know, literally I post a video of someone showing how they get in their van, and an hour later, 100 people can see that video. You know, within an hour, 100 people can see, oh, wow, it's possible for me to modify my van for a wheelchair. And for those of us who've been in a chair for a while, yeah, that seems obvious. But for someone who's newly injured, like, that can be mind-blowing. So you never know what can happen. And, you know, I got a message, you know, on someone else's interview the other day, who I interviewed 2 years ago, and they have 5,000 views on that video now. And 2 years later, someone messages saying, hey, I'm a caregiver for a friend who has the same level of injury. Can I please call you so you can encourage my friend? You know, so this is for someone else who I interviewed. They're asking that person. So to be able to help make those connections that are years after, you know, and thousands of views after, you know, a video being published, it's just incredible, the potential for every little snippet, no matter how insignificant it may seem to us. When we put it out there, you have no idea where it's going to go. You have no idea who's going to see it. So I see, you know, my role as an editor, as a publisher, as an interviewer, is to just, you know, make that possible and see where it goes. And, you know, of course, I'm not going to be able to see all the impact that happens, because a lot of it just happens without us knowing. But trusting that that's possible, I think, is key. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on, something Justina said, her daughter is always watching her, what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important part of mentoring too, or getting to the point where you can see yourself as a mentor. Maybe if you're not feeling like you're ready yet, is realizing that the world is always watching us. We are constantly setting an example to others. And, like when I've dealt with chronic depression, something that like some kind of self-talk that I've used to help get myself out of it is like, all right, John, what you're saying to yourself right now, like when you're depressed, is that something you would say to someone else? Like, are you demonstrating how someone else should behave when they feel sad? Like, what kind of example are you leading? And just making myself understand that, okay, I have to be an example. I am an example. And just convincing myself of that really helps see ourselves as, okay, we can do more and give a purpose to whatever struggle we're facing, because we're not just doing it for ourselves, but we're doing it for others too.
What I heard in that was inspire others by recognizing you're the example. You know what I mean? And I think you sit on top of a large hill observing the masses and what people are enduring and what they're going through, and you're providing a platform for people with disabilities, especially in the spinal cord community, to help us know that there is more to this life than just what you're physically capable of. Lastly, with Nikita and Justina, like as you see More Than Walking, you're being a part of it. What are some things that you think may be able to help improve what we do as mentors to better serve our community?
Being able to understand that when people are watching, they're noticing like your attitude, what you're saying. Taking that the way you feel may not be exactly what someone is going through right now. You have to understand everyone's emotions. Like people are then watching everything, uploaded a video of me working out, and it may look like, I'm like it's easy when actually it could be the hardest thing I've done in months. I feel like I'm going to pass out. You have to just make sure that you have to let them know that the reality of it is not going to always be perfect. Not everything is like shiny and bright and glamorous all the time.
Relatability. I got that. That definitely is cool. Nikita, how about yourself?
I feel like, More Than Walking is doing a lot for the community, and, people see what they're doing. Like there's people from all over just reaching out to be a part of the community by any means. They want to be able to show someone who might be injured in the future, that they're not alone. And for me, it's, the world sees what you're doing, but God sees why you're doing it. So, I came across that meme and it has always stuck to me. So as a mentor and as far as being a part of the More Than Walking community, I feel like they're spot on. They're just branching out to people that are not only local, but internationally. So, it's worldwide. And this community, as well as other communities that are related to the disability community, spinal bifida, CP, we are one. So if we can continue to grow, the More Than Walking is showing them how to expand, how to be compassionate, how to teach each other, just the little things that people take for granted. So, I didn't really take a lot of things for granted before my injury, but I've learned a lot since my injury. And Yeah. So more than walking definitely is beneficial, not just to the USA, but worldwide.
I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Ever since being introduced to Jonathan, I definitely see the great need for mentorship for people because, for me, it'll be 17 years next June, and I've talked to tons of people. And whether they're in the chair or they're able-bodied, they're always like, "Man, girl, you are so encouraging. What do you do? Like, how do you make it through, and what have you?" And I feel like being able to testify for someone else to be great is just a pleasure, and I'm so happy that More Than Walking exists to be able to provide that opportunity to help change the demographic of the world as it continues to evolve. As we're going to end right now, but want everybody to make sure, like, you got to take a look at the bottom. There's tons of resources. If you know somebody that's going through something and needs a mentor that maybe might not be able to relate to, I guarantee you siphon through those videos on More Than Walking's YouTube channel, you'll find somebody that can understand what you're going through. And so I hope everybody listening has a great holiday season. I hope the new year brings tons of blessings your way. And please be tuned in next month as we talk about another subject of awareness. And just don't lose hope, be encouraged, and stay aware. Have a good night, everyone.
Peace, love, and blessings.
Awesome. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Good night.